Empress Delilah, I yield. Islam.
Islam. Grand rising to all the Moors. I rise and give honor to Allah and next unto his holy and divine prophets. All rise, facing the east, feet at a 45-degree angle, 5 fingers on the left hand side, 2 fingers on the right hand side, and repeat after me the Moorish prayer. Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
The Father of love.
The Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Juali.
Juali.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Reading of the holy, divine constitution and bylaws. Salvation, Islam, salvation, Allah, unity. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Holy Temple of Science. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known by the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Because no member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the said government, and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the constitution of the government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored people, black folk, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865, during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with the necessities of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This covenant, this divine covenant, is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Islam. Bloom.
All righty, Islam. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Dear brother, Islam, I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement, now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials in the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as an American citizen, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that contribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it bad. Never before have I needed finance as badly as I do at present, that I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being the head. It has been proven by my work, in which I have performed in the last few months, because I was at the governor's inauguration to represent the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and I will be at the inauguration of President Hoover for the same cause. Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Islam. The other one, a divine plea.
All right, the divine plea.
Divine warning. Divine warning.
Okay, divine warning. Pull it up. All right, divine warning by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. The prophet warns all Muslim governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways, by order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Islam. Chapter 25, a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thine own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam. Islam, Moors. Grand Rising. Grand Rising.
Rising.
Grand Rising. Islam. All right, so I'm going to continue along because I'll do this first because I'm sort of getting behind in terms of the creed, the confessions of our articles of faith, which would be part and parcel of the questionnaire, the 101 questionnaire, as well as the 102 questionnaire. And so I wanted to continue along this line of thought because, we must be able to confess who we are. If you don't know who you are, how can you confess it? You can't say it. You can't be it unless you know who you are. And by knowing that we use the Koran as our holy book, which is the book of the Mohammedan faith, the articles of our confession of our faith, the Mohammedan faith, it contains, the Quran has both ecclesiastical and secular laws in there. And so we know that we blend the two because we're not going to separate our moral thoughts and beings from our constitutional and our civil obligation. They go hand in glove. All right. So I think we had gotten to. I'll answer questions. The questions, comments, concerns, and objections as I go on, because I want to get a little bit further than what we've been getting, because I'm understanding we only got to mile 41, and we need to travel a little bit further, all right, with regard to our confession of our articles of faith. Because, you must know who you are. Who made you? Allah. Who is Allah? Allah is the Father of the universe. Can we see him? No. Where's the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. So these are our confessions of our faith that we have in knowing that Allah is the Father of the universe. But Allah has, or the Father, the Creator, has many names and known by many names all across the nations, all right? Because Parabim, Jehovah, Thoth, but it's still, the Allah that is within us, the Most High that is within us, all right? So I think I got to 41. I think I was at 41, I think. What is the everlasting gospel? It is a saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophets. That's 4 and 1 is 5. That's the 5. 5. And 5 has to do with family. The 5th house has to do with family. So we're talking about our family, our ancient forefathers, that we're talking about our family in terms of the cosmology, astrology, because we always have to apply all this. It's our realignment with the Most High, our starships. We're here as light beings to do a job, to complete our mission here. All right? 42. What is the covenant of the great God Allah? Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. So 4 and 2 is 6. The 6 is I analyze. It is the analyzation of who we are. We came from a certain particular father and mother, and we got to honor those principles. If we don't honor those principles, then we still can't be who we are, because you are what your foremothers and forefathers are, without doubt or contradiction. And if you can't claim that you know who you are through the bloodline, that we are Moabites, Hamathites, Amorites, Hittites, Canaanites, we're all those in wrapped into one. We can tie the bloodline back, because that's what it says. Backwards through the ages, masterminds can trace themselves, and thus they know. And if we know who our mother and father is, we can claim our foremother, our forefathers. We can claim to be truly who we truly were meant to be. 43. At what age did Jesus begin to teach? At the age of 12. So 4 and 3 is 7. That's 7. That's 7. So that's the completion. 7 days. There's 7 days. How many days are in a year? 7 days. How many days are in a cycle? 7 days. That's the completion. If you follow through how it goes towards the end, according to science, how many days are in a year? 7 days. How many days are in a creation, 7 days. How many days are in a circle? 7 days. 7 days. Cycles. Cycles. Because like I was sharing with Sister Light in terms of what the names of the days of the weeks are based on the Elohim. Mikael, that's Sunday. Gabriel is Monday. Zamael is Tuesday. Raphael is Wednesday. Zachiel is Thursday. Nil is Friday. And Kasiel is Saturday. Those are the 7 Elohim. And they also represent the 7 planetary forces, creative forces. From the sun, moon, sun. Mikael is Sunday. Mikael, sun. Gabriel is moon or moon day. Zamael is Mars day. Raphael is Mercury. Zachiel is Jupiter. Nil is Venus. And Kasiel is Saturn. Those are the 7 planetary alignments. Those are 7 cycles. And, you know, there's no more days in those 7 cycles. Because like they say we do 365 days in a year. But, you know, when you're asked to name them, all you can go is from Monday through Saturday. You can't name any other days. And there's a cycle going on here. Sister Zodiacus Day, the Zodiac is ill, she's on YouTube and she breaks down the 7 cycles, you know, of what we should recognize and acknowledge as our great gift of understanding our planetary alignment, all right? So, all right, so 40, at the age of 12, oh, yes, I at the age of 12, and I was examining something the other day in terms of the faculties of the mind. There are 12 faculties of the mind, 12, and then, you know, it goes along with the 12 disciples, and it goes along with the 12 houses, the 12 zodiac signs, and understanding the faculty of the mind. Understanding is a faculty of the mind. In fact, it is the 7th principle, or the 7th understanding. Understanding is the 7th faculty of the mind. Because like he says, the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah. The gifts of the faculty of the mind are the treasures of Allah. And understanding is the 7th. How you can find this out, my reference point is the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary on page 214. However, you can download a copy from a PDF copy of the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary if you do not have a copy of the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. However, it doesn't necessarily correspond with the same pages that I'm referencing, but it talks about the faculties of the mind, and understanding is one of the faculties of the mind. Islam. 44. Where did he teach? India, Africa, and Europe. 4 and 4. 4 and 4 is the principle. What are the duties of an angel? It's to carry the messages to the 4 corners of the earth, to all nations, to the world. I beg your pardon. To carry the message to the 4 corners of the world, to all nations. And world again means age of man, or growth of man. Age of mind, growth of mind. So 4 and 4 is 8. 8 is the 8th house, where it is talking about regeneration, coming back again from the dead, and it's also destruction and regeneration. You know, talking about the 8th house. So where did he teach? India, Africa, and Europe. 45. How long did he? I beg your pardon. How long did he teach? 18 years. So 4 and 5 is 9, and 9 is half of 18. So 9 is the antenna, as we were talking about, the antenna, and then 18 is half of 18 is 9, and and 1 plus 8 is 9. So, 9 is just keeps coming back because that's the completion. There's no higher number than 9 except, the multiples of 9. How long did he teach? Where did he teach? India? 18 years. 18 years. And also the fez represents, on the top of the fez, there are 18 holes there representing the circle.
Come on. Stop.
The circle, all right? So 46, what did Jesus say that would make you free? Make you free. Not set you free, but make you free. Truth. 4 and 6 is 10. So you start all over again from the beginning, the truth, the one, the truth, the oneness, the truth. 47, what is truth? Truth is art. 4 and 7 is 11. After 2, comes back to the 2. The 2 is the house, the be, the best. Coming back, what is art? Art is everything. Art is all. 48. What is art? Art is Allah. So Allah is everything, everywhere, omniscient, omnipresent, everywhere. 4 and 8 is 12. That's the 1 and the 2, beginning again from the 1. The 1, the Allah is the 1, the beginning, the start. 49. Can truth change? Truth cannot change or pass away. So you got 4, 9 is 13, the divine number, 13. 1 plus 3. So 1, the I am. So I am plus 3. I think I am. I think I am. I think I am the truth. I think I am the truth. Can it change? No. Truth cannot change, so you don't have to doubt it now because truth cannot change or pass away. 50. What other name do we give to the truth? Holy breath. And that 5, that's the will of Allah, the will. 51. What have you to say about the holy breath? All we can say is, it is great, it is good, it was, it is, and evermore to be. Amen. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6. That's the I analyze. That's the 6 is the imagination. The 6. I'm sharing with you one of the 12 faculties of the mind, and the 6th faculty is imagination. So whatever we imagine is real, is. Just whatever we imagine is. And we can take it to, from the lowest through the murky ethers of the flesh to the highest, to the flesh divine. 52. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed? In the Garden of Eden. 5 and 2 is 7. There's a 7 again. On the 7th day he rested. On the 7th day he rested. I think that's what it says. On the 7th day he rested. So the flesh was, in the Garden of Eden. 53. 5 plus 3 is 8. Where is the Garden of Eden? In the land of Canaan, in the city of Mecca. Canaan is, if you look in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, Canaan means realized nothingness. Realized nothingness. And so, we're in the womb, so it's sort of like realized nothingness till you come and set your feet on a foundation. I'm going to stop at 54. 54, what is the modern name for the Garden of Eden? Mecca. So 5 and 4 is 9. And so we come to the end where Mecca is, where you come through. Those 9 months that you're in Mother, and you come to Mecca. And at this point, I yield. Are there any comments, concerns, questions, interjections, or objections? And I yield. Any
Well, I'll
questions?
just say that it's so much to dive into. I mean, it's so much. There's just so much beauty and so much meaning in each of these questions, and it just pulls you further in, because we know that these all tie into everything. Everything is everything. So the astrology of it, the cosmology and astrology of it, the numerology, which is, it's all the same thing, but history, like certain places, and there's so much. I mean, we are so rich. We are so abundantly rich as Moorish Americans, knowing, and just this creed, our articles of faith. This is so beautiful. I just want to say I'm full of gratitude that we're walking these 101 miles, and I'm sure that this will unfold in all of us, and we're gonna maybe not have questions today, but even come back with it. So I'm so happy we're really, really taking our time in doing this. So I just want to say thank you and give thanks. Islam, are you?
Islam. Islam, I yield.
Islam, as you were talking, Empress, I've been just thinking about this through each one of these classes, that, these foundational principles are the patriarchy. They're given in patriarchal terms. And so the question came to my mind, well, if these are the patriarchal terms, where are the matriarchal terms? And then the answer came back that we are the matriarchal, we're to tell the matriarchal story. The patriarchal story is written right there. And even though the stories are not separate, they're one story, everything that's been said has been using patriarchal terms. And so even in all of the writings that I've seen thus far, it has spoken in patriarchal terms when speaking of Allah. And the answer came back that we are to tell the matriarchal story, even though it's not even really necessary to tell it. The fact that all exists tells the story, And so it has this whole foundational teaching has ended all confusion within me about patriarchal teaching. I wasn't overly confused because I know who we are and where we come from, but because I grew up in a Christian setting, the patriarchy was aside from Mary being the mother of their Savior, Jesus, matriarchy was mentioned in inferior terms. And I'm appreciative that now there's no more of that back and forth within me about matriarchy and patriarchy when I her us speaking of Allah in terms of the patriarchy of that other facet of us, because it is another facet of who we are. So I'm appreciative of the teaching as well. Islam, I yield.
Islam, and as I stated earlier in one of the other classes, who is Noble Drew Ali carrying out of the cares of the world? He's not carrying a brother. He's carrying mother out of the cares of the world, because humanity is written on her womb. Her womb. She got lost in the cares of the world, but he has 1 foot on the dry salvation. He has 1 foot on the dry land and 1 foot in the water, but he's coming out of there and bringing her out of there. And he's sharing with you the meanings of originally what these teachings were. Of course it was her, because like we know, the birthmark that everyone has is a navel. They don't have a rib pulled out. It's not, you don't have a rib. Everyone has a navel. It comes from her. But like I say, I'm not excluding my sons from this venture, because you got to have day and night, yin, yang. They complete each other. You don't just have lower self and not the higher self. You got to have both, the higher self and the lower self, in order to complete this understanding. As we came from underneath, we came from, that creative force, that meeting, that assembly, that council, that discussion. We came from that discussion. We discussed whether we were going to come down here on earth to assist in the age of man and the growth of man, the age of mind and the growth of mind. We decided that. We made that commitment before we even came down. Now, as I say again, we had free choice. We had free choice. That's the only thing. So if you find yourself going up a blind alley, it's because you made that choice. If you had followed the pattern that was set originally by yourself, you set that pattern in your natal chart. You set that pattern. You knew that you were going to have certain challenges here. You knew that you were going to have certain ease going through certain things, which would be the trines and the sextiles. You knew conjunctions, certain conjunctions and things joined together. You knew that this was going to be made manifest, but it was your choice whether you wanted to go that way or not. You can choose not to follow that pattern, that path. It's all up to you, because we are, as you're saying, as we know, you're sovereign unto yourself. You're a priest unto yourself. And so you can do whatever you choose to. You can turn it to the left, or you can turn it to the right. You can push it up, or you can push it down. It is your choice. But according to the teachings that Yeshua was trying to give, as well as Prophet Noble Ali, these are certain things you recognize, certain patterns, certain formations, certain things that you can alleviate some of the harshness that you might find yourself in. You might find yourself getting killed at 25 years old. You might find yourself getting killed because you just decided to go that way and not the other way. I sent out this sister, she practices Yoruba, but it's a very good explanation as to your choice. The reflection. As the prophet says, the business of man or mind is reflection. A soldier never knows his strength until he meets his foe. And thought is developed by the exercise of strength. You develop your strength from thought. And like I say, some of the faculties of the mind are there to assist you. And the prophet and Allah, which is feminine, Allah, the H makes it feminine, has assisted you by giving you certain faculties of the mind to start out with. You didn't come here a tabla rosa, a blank sheet. You were already programmed. Because you programmed yourself before you even came down here. But like I say, we all have choices. We can either go up, down, left, right, in, out. It's your choice. And some things, become harsh, but that's part of the coming down and manifesting in the flesh. Because I think it's chapter 9 where it talks about Yeshua or Jesus is sitting amongst the courtesans, the thieves, and the extortioners. And the Sadducees and Pharisees tell him, this is a bad day for you, Rabboni, by sitting with these people. People are going to avoid you like an asp, the snake. But he says a teacher does not screen himself for the sake of reputation or for the sake of fame. Because the point of the matter is, who will be saved? Who will, if we're all perfect, what's the point? There will be no point. So we must go out and save the divine redemption. In other words, what I'm sharing earlier, to learn and to teach true knowledge from the heart for divine redemption. Everyone has can be redeemed from their sinful ways, and sinful ways is just being ignorant. And you can act ignorant or you don't have to. It's your choice, because you are your own Savior and you are your own devil. It's all within. It's all within. And you choose. We have the right to choose. Islam, I yield. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, interjections, or objections?
No objections. I want to get back to, I want to elaborate, expatiate on question 43, which we said is 7, which is the completion. The question is, at what age did Jesus begin to teach? At what age did Jesus begin to teach? At the age of 12. 12 is the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces, which is I believe. And this is why he was the avatar for that Piscean age, for people to increase in their belief. That's why everything was about, do you believe in, it should have been Christ, because that Christ is within yourself. That's your higher consciousness. And we're to only really have our foundation of belief should be in self. And so the Christ within, that's why, because a lot of people, take that very literally, that 12, but the age of 12 is the age of Pisces. And so that's why everything was about belief. And now we are in the age of Aquarius, and it's about knowing. So we have graduated from belief to knowing. So I just wanted to get back to the questions and bring that up, and encourage anybody else who has any questions about what Mother is sharing with us today, because this is the intention of what we're here for, to walk these 101 miles. And the deeper we go, the deeper we can go. It's just more and more and more, and it's just a beautiful unfoldment. And I would love for us all to participate in this as much as possible, since this is Delilah's offerings to us. So, Islam, I yield.
Islam. And also in the 12th house, as Maxine Taylor says, it is either divine inspiration or total confusion, because each thing contains its polarity. Everything contains its polarity. A knife can be used to cut, food, but it also can be used to stab someone to death. So, we must know the usages of those tools that we have come with. These are all tools that we can utilize to understand, to get to our higher consciousness, to that place where we once were before. We came down as light beings, light workers, to do the job of helping to sustain the age of man and the growth of man, or the growth of mind and the growth of the age of mind, all right? And this age of mind is the age of Aquarius, so that sort of fits in with the age of mind. The previous age of mind was the Piscean. But see, like the dark, that's where everything happens anyway. That's where things are conceived. You plant a seed in the dark, in the dirt, in the soil, in the dark. That's where it starts to begin to start. If it has the right nutrients and the right sunlight, it has those things that, will help sustain. So that's my point with regard to this. So are there any questions, comments, concerns, interjections, or objections? Please, I'm listening.
Islam, Empress Bloom mentioned Pisces being the 12th house. And I've heard that there's actually 13. Is there any validity to that? Because, I don't know, I keep hearing that there's 13 instead of just 12?
12 disciples plus Jesus. How much did that add up to? 12 disciples
3.
plus Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah, 13. 13.
Yeah, so you're the 13. You're the 13.
Yes,
No,
because you've been you're anointed. You're the anointed one. All right, and you can utilize all those houses. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. You know,
and then you creating a whole new home. Like that's so you're the 13. Yeah, that's it.
Islam.
Yes.
Islam.
Yeah, and like I say, those the 12 faculties of the mind, the 12 faculties of the mind. You know, I was reading, like I said, page 214. I'm trusting that the Moors are understanding so that they can become scholars, because you know I'm not going to be here always. So we need to be able to transmit this information to the coming generations. You know, we need to transmit this. I mean, the physical form. Let me put it that way. The physical form will be, gone, but that doesn't mean that I die, because death is no enemy to man. If you realize chapter 3, I think it is, where John cries over his mother and stuff like that, and Nathaniel explained to him, she's done her work. She has been worthy of her work, and she's completed her mission, and so she has just simply cut the cord, and gone on to smoother seas. That's all. Because like this is like I say, we've imagined all this. We're clusters of souls who've imagined all this. We're in the twilight zone. Truthfully, we're in the twilight zone. We're half asleep and half awake. But who would create this stuff that that you can run into a wall or be hit by a car or face a hybrid or who would create this? This is an imagination. This is imagining this stuff. It never happened. In the grander scheme of things, it never happened. That's why when in my eye it says, I have not stolen from the infant, I have not robbed with violence. Why haven't you done these? Because you never was here. It's an illusion. It's part of our imagination. Like Brother Aaron said, the imagination is the glue that keeps us in the physical as well as into the spiritual. It's the glue. And like I say, all right, I'm gonna name the 12 faculties of the mind. Strength is the first. No, faith is the first one. Strength is the second one. All right. Judgment is the third one. Love is the fourth one. All right. The fifth one is power. The sixth one is imagination. The seventh is understanding. The eighth is will. The ninth is order. The 10th is zeal. The 11th is elimination. The 12th is appropriation, which is life again. So you choose your battles before you even come here. You've chosen your battles before you even, by being in the Garden of Eden. You chose your battles. By being in the Garden of Eden, you chose your battles. So are there any questions, comments, concerns? Because I'll go on if there's no questions, comments, concerns, or objections.
About the number 45, how long did he teach? And they said 18 years. And you was talking about 18 divided by 2, that's 9, which is 9 and 9 is 18. Could that have anything to do with the judgment?
Of course, it can have something to do with judgment, because all right. So the ninth house. The ninth house is Sagittarius. So the ninth house is I see. The ninth house is I'm seeing certain things. So that you didn't see before. So let me see if I can come up with that. All right, because in the Biblioheliotheque, there's 18 unaccounted years of Yeshua. There's 18 unaccounted years. You hear that he's 12, and the next thing you hear that he's 30 years old. What happened to this 18 years? what did he do? So he was teaching in India, Africa, and Europe. He was teaching, and we can see that even the biblioheliotext verifies that, because he was in Greece, all right? He was in Greece, which is Europe, all right? He was in Africa, which is Egypt. That's where he was, you know, he went to Egypt. And I think, you know, you can verify, because I'm not sure. I need to verify that. But I think he was in India, because Lahore, he was there. You know, I'll check it to make sure. You know, I'll come back, you know, and make sure that that's, you know, that's what it was. But he was in these places. And like we say, Africa is the modern name for Amexem. Northwest, Southwest, Central, Amexem is Africa, is America, you know, AME, you know, Amexem, and Rika from RICA, from Africa. So the combination of the two, you know, makes America, although we're all Moroccans, all right, down from the Moroccans, because that's what, you know, Ruth the Moabitess, as we're talking about in what was the nationality of Ruth? Ruth was a Moabitess. What is the modern name for the Moabites? Moroccans. So, you know, we've been here. I don't know. Did I answer your question? Because I think I went off on a tangent somewhere. But I need to know, is that satisfactory, or do you need some more?
Well, really what prompted that thought to me, I was just trying to get more information on the 9, because I guess it's been about 7 or 8 years, they say Donald Trump was the 45th president of the United States, and they said 9 represent judgment. That's and I kind of affiliate 9 with Aquarius, so I'm just trying to put puzzles together here. You know, 45th president, judgment, the age of Aquarius, so, and then 9, and just I'm just searching.
Right.
Well, 9, you know, at 9, that's when we give birth. So that's the fruition. So 18, the 1 plus the 8 is, you know, fruition. And as far as the 18 years, I would say that, you know, where did he teach? We have to recognize that geography is dealing with geography on the earth that we live in and that we're living on, but also the earth within us, because we are earth as well. And so we are dealing in these areas, these realms of consciousness. And so you see all these trinities and these threes. So these are different 3 levels, trinities of consciousness. So the 18 years, and then thinking of, even if you divide 18 by 3, then that's 6. And we know that 6, that number is all about imagination. And through imagination, we create. 6 is also the number of procreation. You know, that 6 represents a sexuality. That's the kundalini. So these are all things traveling through chakras and things like that. So that 18, that represents a, just like when someone becomes of age to be able to go and buy something that would be, you know, considered for adults, they have to reach the age of 18. So it's like a fruition. It's a rites of passage. You're being born, you're birthed. So that's what all of that numerology entails in that. Islam, I yield.
Islam, and the number 9. Just let me put this: the 9th faculty of the mind. I was reminded the 9th faculty of the mind is order, putting stuff back in order. So I yield.
Yes,
Islam.
Also,
camelbacking off what Rishimba said. Islam.
Islam.
Okay, as far as you also taking in, since we're bringing in the numbers into play, as far as 1 and 9, or excuse me, 1 and 8. So 1 is a self-situation, 8 being infinity, and you put the 8 and 1. I heard you all keep saying, you know, divided by 2, but also just add the 1 to the 8, and that gives you 9. So you got your 1 energy and your 8 energy together, and you manifest and read the science on that as well. But 9 is also the, as Sister Richmond said, completion. It is a level of completion as well for us. So if it's a cycle of completion when it comes to that. So when you look at the 18 years of Yahshua's teachings in India and Africa, when we start looking at the days of Yahshua, versus Jesus, now when we know Jesus is code for justice. So when we start acknowledging it like that, then it just opens up a whole nother realm of studies for an individual. And yes, I do agree with the sister that it is talking about the terror that is called your body as well.
And then so after that following question, it says, so what did justice say that would make you free? Truth. And so through all of that, through that birth process, through that alchemy, that's where we reach the truth within ourselves, recognizing that, we are this Christ, that we are this consciousness, we are this star, we are this star seed. And so now we have given birth, and that represents that 9. So it's not my yield.
Islam. And also, just as well too, you and many of the Moors are manifesting the 9 that is judgment as well when you do your court actions, simply because that is a manifestation that has taken place in, you mentioned the Trump presidency and it being 45, even though, and it being 45, even though, just a moment, let me stop. It being 45, just as we've manifested that, and then if you look in, I believe it's Isaiah 126. Isaiah 126, 1, 2, and 6 equals 9 as well, and Isaiah 126 says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Wow. And so restoration happens in the number 9 as well for us and for our nation as we continue restoring the judges' peace. And as we continue to stand, so you can even relate that to the work that you're doing as well with your court actions. I yield.
Because see, like what we say, Jesus means justice. So the justices are rising up. Jesus means justice. And justice is a manifestation of, the all, not only you as physical beings bringing about justice, calling yourself justices and stuff like that, but you're bringing about justice to the earth, to the 4 corners of the world, to all nations, because this is not just here happening on North America, it's happening all over the earth.
Yes.
All over.
Yes.
It's not just here. And we are the ones that have to wake up. We are the ones that have to wake up to this knowledge because, it all began here and now, it's going out, it's rippling, the rippling effect began here. And so we're trying to bring back that which was, lost, the taking of our flag, and telling us to take off our sandals and shoes, and the taking of our feathers and turbans, and the remove I said flag, right? And telling us that we can't call ourselves Moors anymore. You can't call yourself Moor. You got to call yourself Negro, colored, black, African American, or Ethiopian. You cannot call yourself another one, Afro-American, like the hair, Afro-American. You can't, no, the returning of the great old ones is here. We're returning the great old ones,
Yes, and even in that verse, Empress, even in Isaiah, if we look now, we know that there are no coincidences. Hurricane Isaiah, and they call it Isaiah, and they they tried to switch up the pronunciation of it. But
Right.
it was Hurricane Isaiah coming through,
Right.
manifesting that which is in that particular verse as well as other verses in that part of both the Septuagint, the Bibliotheliotech, and some of the other correlative books as well, with regard to the judges, the real judges coming back onto the land and doing what needs to be done in order to get things in order. I heard someone mention order. 9 is a number of order.
Yes.
And that's how order is always returned by way of judges and, you know, the law.
Yes. And so I would want my sons to speak up. The only one that I'm hearing constantly is Brother Turk. I'm hearing, come on, y'all, where y'all at? Where y'all at? Y'all done went on silent mode and stuff like that. I want to hear from the sons, you know, because I love you. I apologize for my recklessness because I did not understand the power of being a mother or the power of being a parent. Consider thou art a parent. That's what it says in chapter 23. I didn't consider that. And the trust. I was supposed to, build up that trust. Where are my sons? I'm trying to build up this trust so that you can trust mother again. She ain't gonna do you wrong no more. That period is over. That period is over. Mother's here because we need each other. That's what it says. There's only mothers and sons here. Masons, sons, mothers and sons. There's only Masons that are here. So we got to share. I love y'all. Come on, sons. Stop being afraid. I'm not gonna bite you. No, I want you to speak up. You know, I know there's been a situation, but hey, I love you. I'm returning the love. So I yield at this point. Are there any other sons ready to speak up? Please, my sons. Please. Islam, I yield. All right? No sons? No sons? The sun, S-U-N? The S-U-N? Come on, S-U-N. Bring some brightness here. That willpower. Come on, y'all. Where you at? All right, Brother Turk, Islam. Thank you.
It's better almost Northwest Mexican territory with Milwaukee State. But anyway, I just want to put on record, mothers, that I don't speak that much is because I'm not disciplined and super science.
Can you speak up just a little bit? You're sounding a little muffled. Can you speak up just a little bit? It's on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Much better.
Okay. What I was saying is I don't speak up that much because I'm like new to this movement and more science and all that stuff because since I got involved with everyone, I'm like listening to the Moors, and Moors know law like Bible thumpers know verses in the Bible, and I'm like new to it, so I'm not one to be speaking about a bunch of things that I don't have the knowledge and studies on, so that's why I'm mostly quiet in the cut, listening, learning. So absolve my, silence and not speaking and always, in the chat room. Islam?
Yes, Islam.
Respect.
Yes, respect. Yes.
So you're rich with questions. We love that. Yeah. You're rich with questions. Love that. So, yes, thank you for sharing that because, we learn. We're still learning. All of us on the call are learning together. And then when you bring questions, we learn more. And, so we illuminate each other's minds. So please ask questions. And you are on a wonderful call. If you're new to this, Mother Delilah, you're in great hands, and she's teaching our articles of faith, and this is good foundational things because sometimes when you come in as more and you're just coming in thinking of the law, the civics part, you can get so pulled into that you don't balance it with the divine side. And so the foundation for this is to definitely learn our articles of faith, learn your creed, learn your divine creed, learn the things that the mother is offering on this call. So we welcome you. Thank you. And please ask questions. I yield.
Islam. This is Azana and Dolly Bay. And I wanted to comment about the brother who said that he just comes in and listens because he's not adept in certain things. And I was speaking with Sister Delilah at one point, and I was also expressing that to her, that I have done a lot of studying on my own through videos and whatnot. And I've learned a lot, but it's a lot that you can't get through videos because you're not there in person to be able to ask questions relating to that. So I also just come in and listen because even though I know a lot, I still don't know everything. So I'm listening as well, just like he is. So he's not alone in that, you know. And sometimes I'm here, but I just listen because I'm still trying to learn myself. So I just wanted to let him know he's not by himself. So Islam.
Islam. Yeah. Because he like.
I'm sorry. May I say this just one thing, and I'm gonna yield to you, Mother, because this is your class.
Yes.
I just being knowing that position of feeling new and being new and not like, please, like if I can encourage you to do one thing, just ask questions, because I know it can be intimidating because, you know, Moors are so well studied. They know so many things. They're so proficient. They're so articulate in the way they express things. You can feel a little intimidated. And then a lot of Moors kind of, you get the feeling that some Moors don't appreciate being questioned or being asked, or and then that can freeze you up and you know, cause you not to express. And I just want to encourage everybody on the call, if you're just listening and you have a question and something comes up and then you stop yourself because you don't feel like you're qualified. You are more than qualified. You're here. Please engage, please interact, please ask questions, communicate, converse. And this is what Mother Delilah is here for. She wants that. So no question is ever going to be frowned upon. Please, if I can just encourage that over and over and over, just please express yourself. Islam.
Islam.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Nobility. Go ahead.
Okay. Curtis Anthony Morrison, L. Nebraska Republic Territory.
Islam.
Yeah, I've been listening to these calls as much as I can. Like most brothers, I don't believe I know too much. However, I've been doing some studies on my own as well via videos and listening to conference calls and through reading. My primary concern at this time is the war that's being waged against our children. And when I say our children, I'm not just speaking both our Asiatic children and Albion European children. The CDC has come out with a new guideline, particularly in the state of Ohio, where they are saying that if there is a massive emergency, i.e. biological, that the children attending school will be forced to stay overnight. And to me, that that's rings off alarms. And so basically, it's about the human trafficking of children, which has been going on for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And it's I'm of the mind that, of course, learning our history and who and what we are, and standing upon our basic principles and the treaties is very important. However, something has to be done about assisting these children who are basically helpless. And I know that the Matriarchate has declared peace on the land, and that's something I've been struggling with back and forth. However, I'm of the mind that something physically has to be done on our part to, if necessary, remove these policy makers that are making such draconian policies.
Islam. I didn't even know about that.
Islam.
As a woman who had a baby, Islam,
are you?
Islam. This is Sister D. Millsop L, aka Energy. As a sister who has young children, young sons and daughters, I don't have the wherewithal to even deal with the public school system. And I'm appreciative that my prophet told me that every temple is to have a school and a press. It's unisex. But it's imperative that we understand that we have to elucidate our own babies. And I appreciate knowing that work. As Sister Delilah gave me elucidate and not educate, because educate means to train an animal. And, you know, they can get you to call them kids, then they can definitely go ahead and educate them. But, yeah, I'll be watching these babies come off these prison buses, as they call them, school buses, and the things that, a little tighter? All right.
You're making my head before you left.
I should have. But as far as these schools go and that whole staying overnight, or they get to keep them, or they got to be shot up just to come back to their business, because understand that they are providing a service. And a lot of parents are not understanding that that is a service provider. They act like that is mandatory to life. I'm going to have to yield the floor.
Islam. All right. So what does it say, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence say? You have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Does it make you happy to have your children vaccinated? No. Your liberty, is your liberty being violated? Yes. Do you have the right to life? No. Based on the vaccines? No, you don't. But based on that. But the point of the matter is, as the prophet said, enforce the Constitution. You have the protection, the protection, you're protected, you're secured, and you're preserved. Your rights are preserved. If you enforce that Constitution because you know you are a Moorish national, Moorish American, know that you are an American, you have the force and the enforcement of the Constitution. And if you know that, then they cannot violate it. But you got to be able to stand on it. If you cannot stand on it, then of course they're going to violate. But if you know that you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and in Amendment 5, life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, if you know that you have these rights, why would you let someone violate them? Why would you let someone encroach upon them? So why would you let anything happen in terms of the protection of your children, of our children? You know, we don't let these things happen. But see, like, you got to be able to enforce the Constitution. And there again, in Article 6 is the treaty. And they are foreigners doing business on our estate. They're foreigners doing business on our estate. And so they're asking you, will you contract with me? Will you allow me to vaccinate your children? If you submit to the contract, then, as it says, doing what slavery is, you know, there's voluntary and involuntary slavery. Now, voluntary slavery, then you'll accept that contract. But involuntary slavery has been abolished. It's no more. But they know that I don't like the word they, because it's really our lower selves in energy being manifested as something of a foe to fight and get the strength of Allah. But those things that are happening, if you know how to stand on the enforcement of that mighty document of common law, even common law protects you against that infringement upon your unalienable and inalienable rights. Your unalienable rights is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and your inalienable rights is life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. So you have your intellectual property. But you've got to know these things. You've got to read the Constitution. You've got to understand these things, because we are part and parcel of this said government, because, as we know, the Constitution is based on Muslim law. That's what Barack Obama went to Hikuta and told them. The Constitution is based on Muslim law. Muslim law. Not on Christian, Muslim law. And are we not Muslims? That's what I'm sharing with you, the creed of being a Muslim. So, you know, we have the protection, but you got to be able to enforce that protection.
Islam.
So I yield.
Islam. And that's what it comes down to. You have to know your divine creed. You have to know your law as laid down by the Prophet as a Moorish American Muslim. Get into your Holy Quran and draw upon the divine instructions and apply that to the governance of your family, because government is you, and within your home, government begins with mother and father in the home. And so you govern yourself accordingly to our divine creed and our holy instructions. And then, yes, you enforce that. But ultimately, just as Sister Energy said, just as we have all been instructed, we are to have our own schools.
Yes.
You know, we have to be fully 100% accountable and responsible, because we have the ability to respond to the needs of our own children who we birth and who we give life to. We should be able to cultivate them in our homes, which are the first temples, the first schools, the first government. We have to do that. So it's not about them, they, them over there, what they're doing. No, they ain't got to do nothing. Just don't take your babies back to those fucking businesses. Oh, please forgive my language. We have to completely uproot our fertile trees. We have to uproot quit giving them the Garden of Eden. We turning over all our harvest, all our future, all of our harvest. We're giving over to someone else. Bring it back home. Stay in your own yard. Come on home. Bring your babies home. Get them out of there. And know how to administrate, learn how to enforce the Constitution. Yes, it's the Constitution, but it's our Constitution. It's our Constitution, our divine law and Constitution. Not just the U.S.A. Constitution. Our Constitution, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali gave us our Constitution. But you got to get into that Quran. You got to know how to enforce those laws. And this is why the religious part is so necessary. The divine part is so necessary for you to know who you are. And so as far as you, brother, who just shared that information, the best thing is for you to spread the word to the people who you know in your community, in your family. Let them know that you have a nationality. Look at this nationality. Consider this nationality. See what the benefits are of being a citizen as a Moorish American Muslim here in our land. And they have to be educated. They have to be, elucidated. They have to be enlightened so that they know what the powers that they have, the powers that we possess as a nation. But the bottom line is they got to get them out of those businesses, out of those what we call schools. Those got to get them out. Islam, I yield.
May I camel back off that? Sure. Empress Bloom, let me just give a big old Islam to what you just said. That's just awesome. That is nation building. The nation starts with the heirs. So when you take the heirs and you homeschool them, you're nation building already.
Islam.
That's nation build. They're the nation. We're the nation. That's nation building. And if we're not nation building, what the heck are we doing? What are we doing?
Shucking and jiving.
I want to say that too. Yes, Islam. That nation building, and every single one of us has it's not an option. We have an obligation and a duty and a responsibility to our heirs and to the heirs around us and the ones that aren't even here yet to do that. Not next year when our job gives us 5 days off or something. Not next year, now. That needs to be happening right now. These people are not playing when it comes to those animal vaccines and all of that stuff, and everyone wants to know what to do to navigate through that while you're sitting in their corporation building. And it's like, okay, at some point, you got to stop going there to that corporation building, because, see, this is what's happening. They're being moved out of those buildings. Just know that. They're trying to take as many people with them to the camps that they're going to.
Islam.
Okay. They've been given their marching orders. They got to get out of here and take their vaccines with them. At this point in this transitionary period that we're in, because this is a transitionary period. At this point that we're at right now, the heirs can come out of those places. We're going to have to put the shoulder to the wheel and stop what we're doing. All of that chasing fiat and all of that. Just stop it. Just stop it and get the heirs home. Get them home.
Absolutely.
Eat ramen noodles for a minute.
All those contracts. And those contracts. Yes.
All of that. Yes. Terminate those corporate contracts immediately. So we can get, because the sooner we all do that, guess what? They got to get the heck out. And if it's Bloom, it's very difficult when we're this passionate not to use those words, but I'm 2 seconds off of one.
I know, right?
Because it's like, we don't have a choice here. They're trying to kill people.
That's right. Islam.
And we're talking about, well, I have to be at work, so I can't. No, you don't. You actually need to get the heirs out of those corporations and those cow factories, because that's really what it is, an animal factory.
That's what happened. We even forgot what our true work is. See, we got misdirected about what work really is. When they say a man don't work, don't eat, that means till that land back there. And when you say till the land, it ain't just the soil under your feet. It's the soil that's you. You have to till the land. A man don't work, don't eat. So if you going to go out here and you going to kill somebody else's society, because that's what we got to remember. It's the two different societies that we dealing with. Okay, we have to reestablish our society and stop worrying about whatever that society has to offer, whatever. Make them work for you. See, that's what they do anyway, because they are working for you. It's just that we don't realize that we asking for all the dirt and trash for us. We don't be realizing that's what we're doing. But when we start waking up to ourselves and realizing what we are, we are, Allah is in us. So when we start doing our own work like we're supposed to, and stop looking for outsiders to do that which they're not designed to do. Where are you going, Satan? To and from the earth, seeking whom I may devour. It's very simple. So when you look at an individual and they coming at you with any one of the manifestations of the lower self, which is hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms, anybody that you come across that's displaying those characteristics, you're dealing with the lower self. And you say, okay, well, I see you, lower self. No, thank you, lower self. I'm going to go over here. You go over there. And that's all you got to do, and just keep it pushing for us. We don't need to focus on what they're doing. We need to focus on what we got to get done. And it starts with the individual, and then it'll spill out to these babies. I feel what you're saying, brother. I do. Like I said, when I watched them march up this hill after they got off the little prison bus, and then they got their little mask for their face and all that old stuff, I mean, this is what we have allowed our nation to come to in our reality. We allowed this. But now we have gotten the opportunity to get it back right, because it started in, February this year, March of this year? You feel what I'm saying? They gave us, it started at the beginning of the year. March 21st is the new year and everything, and they was in full swing, talking about everything shut down. It gave you the opportunity right then and there to get your house in order.
Yes.
Where it says on page 3, mothers teach these lessons to your children so they will learn to love instead of hate. With these lessons, fathers, you can set your house in order. Now, if we had enough people that understood the importance of the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the world, we would have more participants out here. But your prophet also told you, if you got to be the only one, then be the only one. You don't worry about if auntie and them get board. You don't worry about if mom and them get on board. If you got the call, then you make sure you answer that call because you're going to be held accountable. And for all of us to call ourselves civilians out here, it is a civic duty. That's why civics is important. And for any Muslim to try to tell you that your prophet did not teach civics, that's what the Moorish Holy Temple Science was all about. So you're not going to tell me to enforce contracts and I don't know anything about contracts. He taught civics. And you want to be a civilian, civilian means know our law. Know our law ain't nothing but practicing civics. So, yes, we got to get back in the swing of things.
Islam.
Islam. And with regard to contracts and things like that, listen, we're trying to get incompetent foreigners to understand our language. We don't even need to do that. We need to. There's a little bit of background noise coming from somewhere. And we want to be able to hear, but thank you. In the chat, Empress Michelle has put, for homeschooling instruction, please contact me at Empress Michelle. Do you want to do this? Because I will put that out there because we need it out there. But I'd rather, I don't want to. Go ahead, Empress Michelle. I'm sorry. Because that's necessary. We need that. We need that information. It has to be out there, and some cannot see the chat. Islam. What? I'm hoping she can hear or be able to speak. Let me see. Okay, she has put in the chat. She may not be able to. She may not be able to speak at this point. For homeschooling instruction, please contact Empress Michelle Talbot Allstone Bay at ppswc@yahoo.com, and then she's placed her phone number in the chat as well for those who can see that. If we're not focused on making this manifest this year, it has to manifest now. It has to manifest now, or else we're faced with trying to push the Constitution on incompetent foreigners. And I know that we're doing that. We've been doing that, and we're doing that. But we don't have. But when we do this ourselves, we don't have to worry about that yet. Okay, when we do it ourselves, when our children are in our schools like our prophet told us to do. We should have been had this going.
Right.
And we can use platforms like this to get erudition teaching to the heirs. We can use platforms like this to do it. They're doing it until we get into the buildings. But they got to get out of them, and that's what we're doing now is making sure they know we're right here, and yes, you do have to leave the building. So I yield the floor on that. But Empress Michelle, thank you for that information being put in the chat for homeschooling.
Islam.
So that has to happen, and that's something we can all do, no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing. All of that can be brought together at the same time. That can start next week if we wanted it to start next week because we have the facilities to do it.
Islam.
Right here.
Islam.
The facilities do that. Islam.
Islam. Islam. Yeah, Islam, and the word that Sister Bloom used means fornicating under the consent of the king, So when she used that word, fornicating under the consent of the king, that's what it means,
No. We do not want to do that. It's disgusting, actually.
Islam.
This is Melo, and I have been listening intently to everything. And I'm just going to say that word that Empress Bloom used, that's a power word. And you can feel that power that she's coming forth is because it's mixed with an indignation and anger and a heartfelt love, all of those mixed emotions together because, like what she said, each one has a responsibility to our heirs, to our children. I don't want to use the word children, but all I want to say, and I'm just saying that I normally don't condone that type of language and words and what have you, but because I know the spirit from where it comes from. She's not just using it, like some people out in the street, just every other word, that blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's just that when it came from her, that's also, like I said, that's from the higher power showing us, too, that this is something urgent. This is something that we need to do. Not, like they said, I know Noble Curtis wants us to run over there and pull the babies out and save them and what have you, and that actually is going to come. But we can't do that by force. We can't. That's not what is needed at this time. Okay. The enforcement is going to come in a lot of different ways, and I agree with that enforcement as far as teaching each one of the mothers, each one of us, to know how to interact with our children, raise our children, instruct our own children. I taught in their public school system for almost 20 years. Okay, so. And I know a lot of stuff that they do. And at this point in time, if we don't pull, like I said, if we don't pull our children out of there and teach them ourselves, you're going to lose them. Not just physically lose them, but you're going to lose them in a lot of other ways too. Okay. And so, but right now, I only have I have 4 words. Not 4 letters, but I have 4 words. The matriarch has spoken.
Islam. Yes, indeed. Yes. But like I said, understanding the fornication of the king, the consent of the king, that's another thing, because I a few weeks ago I almost dropped that F-bomb, but I said no, back up, because I'm trying to maintain a certain decorum, but like you're saying, the zeal, because zeal is one of the faculties of the mind. Zeal is one of the faculties of the mind. So we let out the zeal because we're about nation building. We have to come with the zeal of nation building, so, and learning our articles of faith. The confession of our articles of faith is the foundational principles that will lead us to victory. And victory is assured because Allah is leading on, and Allah is all law. It is mother. It is mother. And it's mother and son, because there's only mothers and sons on this planet right now, only mothers and sons. And so we might as well face it, because the prophet has given us instructions in chapter 23. If anybody wants to read chapter 23, it's about what we are to do as parents, Consider thou art a parent, the duty of thy, what did it say? Consider thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust. And so, like I say, we got to build that trust among our sons again, because we as mothers have fallen short of the glory of that which we were. We've fallen short. And so our sons don't want to trust us, She's going to burn me again. That's why I'm going to the European daughter, because she got something that, I need to satisfy right now. But no, it's the duty of the importance of that trust. So we got to rebuild that trust. We have to rebuild the trust. The being that thou hast produced. We got to realize the being that we have produced. And it is our duty to support. And so I'm not leaving my sons no more. I'm not leaving them no more. Because I gave that example as early on about the little brother. He was 9 years old. His mother was on the bus, and she was cussing him up and down because he had lost his gloves and his hat. She was calling him everything but the child of God that he was. And she is God. And she's calling him everything. And like I say, what do we expect as a result of that? He might become a mass murderer. He might become a sex pervert. He might become, that he wants to marry and intermingle with and amalgamate with the modern European, the hybrids. No, it's my fault. It's my fault. I'm apologizing to all my sons. I'm apologizing for having failed that way. I know what I got to do. The duty of the trust. I got to build that trust up again. And like I say, I printed it out. I put it on words. I put it on the record. If you want to go to Fez, Providence, Regency.org,
and I say, I apologize. I'm apologizing to my sons for my failure. I'm apologizing. It's my fault. It's my fault. But now that the prophet has brought me out of the cares of the world, no more falling into that trap again. No, because I know what love is. Because he said, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And love is the primal principle. That's the thing that we begin with. Love instead of war. Because like we were saying, war on poverty, the war on drugs, and the First World War, the Second World War, the hot wars, the cold wars. That's all that comes with this hybrid. And I look up the word hybrid. It means the product of a mixture of two species. Two species. What species? What does that mean? Species. That's from two species. A mixture of two species. So like Sister Melo is always the one that makes me always go to the books. Sometimes I say, oh, Chucks, Melo. And then she makes me go to the books because I had to go to the rules of evidence, the law of evidence. The law of evidence says the eyewitness, the ear witness, the oral witness, the intrinsic evidence. It talks about, the external evidence, the corroborative evidence, to demonstrate that, something ain't right with this formula. X always must equal truth. X must always equal truth. And so I'm looking at the laws of evidence, the rules of evidence, and I'm saying, is it corroborative? Is it collateral evidence? Is it intrinsic evidence? Is it empirical evidence? What is the evidence to demonstrate that these beings that because we take up the maxim that they're hybrids, and if they're hybrids, then they are the product of a mixture of two species, and the corroborative and the other witness, the other evidence is that the island of Dr. Moreau, the mixture of the blends of the two. That's a demonstrative evidence that something is amiss here. So if there's two species here, what are the two species? What is going on here?
Right.
But I have to take Sister Melo. She always challenges me. She really challenges me, and I got to take it to that maxim. A maxim is a self-evident truth. And so I'm looking at, all right. So are they monkeys or not? There's something that says that they're the Yabero, Arabo, Negro, Troglodyte. And so I look up all these words. Troglodyte, Yabero, Arabo. I'm looking up all these words because, the evidence of the existence of, what she asked me in the first place. She says, I'm not convinced. But there's evidence because, as the griot used to tell, the history, a long tale of history that the griot would have, to convey to the new one who is to transmit this energy. I know that here, where I was, we weren't allowed to go into the hospitals because they had tails. So, there's just so corroborative evidence that, they're not the same species as us. But let me leave that alone because because Melo challenges me. Every time she brings me there, I say, oh, let me go back here and study a little bit more. Let me go back and study a little bit more because I need to more. Because see, like some of the Moors in some of the temples, they call each other Mo's. Hey, Mo, what you doing, Mo? Hey, Mo. Mo, yo, Mo, I need to study a little bit more, so that, not only am I trying to convince her, but I got to, because it communicated to the wise for thine own improvement, because has he endowed thee with truth? Yes. So the gifts of the understanding of the treasures of Allah, the gifts of the faculties of mind, or the treasures of Allah. He's given to everyone his portion. He's apportioned each one his measure, and what measure that seems good unto himself. So thank you, Sister Melo, because you always challenge me, and I always got to go deeper. I always got to go deeper because
Islam, Mother. I do believe I do have a purpose.
Islam. That's wonderful. Islam. That's why we want everybody on the call to do the same thing. You know, if it's something you object to, that's why Mother Delilah said, do you have any interjections, objections, or whatever. And because we all are learning, we're all students and teachers together right now in this now time that we're sharing. So please, everybody, please do that. It's so wonderful.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody has something. Go ahead.
And especially the sons, especially them. I need to hear from them, especially. All right, I yield.
Islam.
Islam.
Yes. In regards to the Constitution, I've recently learned that as far as the Constitution is concerned, it is a document specifically for the Albion European. However, Article 6 references us, is basically just a reminder for them to know, who's who and what is what. But we are to specifically stand on the Barbary treaties, one of which is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between
Islam.
Between us and the so-called Christian nation state. So,
Islam. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, son. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for thinking. Thinking. If I just get you to think, you can go and save yourselves. Yes.
Yes. Unfortunately, a lot of us make the mistake of constantly bringing up the Constitution. However, they will say to us, well, in reference to, when it comes to contract law, because there's no L to bathe in that contract whatsoever. That contract is between, basically it's a document that they agree to go by, and again, like I said, Article 6 is just to remind them, that who they are and who we are. But basically, we're not necessarily a party of it. But that's where the Barbary treaties come in at.
Islam.
So you can see so we are to use Article 6 merely as a springboard to as a reminder to them at the treaties that they agreed to, the Barbary Treaty.
Islam. But let me just share with you Article 1, Section 8. We gave them 18 enumerated powers, and as soon as the ink wasn't even dried before, they agreed to it, but before the ink was dried, they had already violated all the 18 enumerated powers. So, that was a contract between us and them, because the Sultan, Sidi Muhammad, he said, let them come in, and we'll teach them certain things, certain principles of civilization and stuff like that. And so, they came in with regard to having the high science, which is masonry, the high science of masonry. They had the high science, and they knew certain things. The hybrids knew certain things. But they came in, and before the ink was dried, they had violated the 18 enumerated powers of the Constitution. It was to preserve, protect, and secure our inalienable and unalienable rights. Most specifically, the unalienable rights. This is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But specifically, the life, liberty, and property. You have the right to property. And so the protection is there. Because it's only the 7 organic articles and the 10 Bill of Rights. The 10 Bill of Rights. That's the organic Constitution. And all the other stuff after that becomes, null and void. Although 12 and 13 did come into effect, but, that doesn't have to do with, the Constitution, how we established it. Because, the 13 is 13 and 20. They're not telling you the 20 subsections of Amendment 13. They're not telling you that. Now, but see, like the Prophet said, the 14th and 15th Amendment are not relevant for us because we're not artificial people. We're not artificial persons. We're not. True. So, so that doesn't include us. And then if you look at it, that's after the coup happened. 1861 was the coup. 1861 was the coup. Anything after 1861 is that corporate entity trying to enforce or impose itself upon us as Moors.
That is true. That's true.
Islam. So anyway, any more questions, comments, and concerns with that? I left it up.
Islam. Yeah, I would like to get back to the brother who, I don't know your appellation, Noble. Will you remind me? You were mentioning how we're going to remove the policymakers, and so I think that's a good subject or topic to go into because you all are doing the judicial orders and the court proceedings, so maybe that's something that can be addressed there.
Yeah, Islam. Yeah, that's. I thought about all of that as far as the merits of doing that, and it's all good and well. But again, as I stated earlier, it's a struggle within myself because I'm a writer. I love to write. However, there's another side of me that believes in putting my hands on certain people, because standing on the fact that we are the law and the government, and you know what I mean. So Islam, are you?
Islam. But what they say, the pen is mightier than the sword. Come on now, And Prophet says we're not even to carry a pocket knife. We're not even to carry a pocket knife. That's what the Prophet said. All right.
Islam.
Islam. So I think that's like the greatest duty that we can actually bestow upon the world at this time. Show that real unconditional love. So that means, we're not out here speaking against anybody. That's why we don't need to focus on the they thing. Just really focus on that love.
That's it.
Be yourself. And if you don't know who that is, take just that time, give you the opportunity to learn who and what you are, and just be about that love. Be about that love. That's it. Don't be worrying about defending yourself. If you're talking about you got to defend yourself, you obviously didn't miss the whole mark. This ain't your world. This ain't your life. This ain't your body. This all belongs to Allah. And so Allah goes to the So you stand and, you stand as, a representative of Allah. And Allah is your defender. So you ain't got no guns, no knives, or none of that. You ain't got enough. But what they doing as far as the lower self out here, oh no. They'll sell you a gun, but they got all the guns. They'll sell you a box of bullets, but they got all. So that's why we don't even need to focus on those types of things. And as far as laying hands on somebody, you're supposed to lay hands, give them a hug, pat that back. Press hands. Outside of that, no, I'll do none of that. I mean, I might. I won't even kill them.
A long, real tight hug.
Islam. Islam, it's actually a lot easier to get along with them when we are not trying to fit ourselves into what they're doing. We have to stop trying to fit ourselves into their schools and fit ourselves into their courts and fit ourselves into their churches and fit ourselves into their families, etc. Okay, it's a lot easier to not even have to worry about a pocket knife when you're among all the Moors.
Islam.
And when you're and when we have all of our own, we have our own courts, we have our own schools, we have our own temples, we have our own everything.
We got our own.
It's a lot easier to love them from that distance. And some people might say, well, no, we need to be, whatever. No. No, we had our own everything, and we are having our own everything now. They're not. We don't need to be trying to fit ourselves under their government.
That's right.
Wow.
Okay, that's a corporation in the first place. It's not even a government, and that's why the heirs. Our nobility shouldn't even be thinking about census taking and all of that. People are talking about a census, and this might seem like it's off topic, but it's going to come right back to the topic. If you fill out their census, the only reason they want to know who's there is so they can say, okay, we got another res ident, we got a property, someone who identifies as property. That means we can put that we can force them into the school, the animal education system. We can force them to take vaccines. We can force their children, and we can take their children overnight, and they better not say a word or we'll throw them in jail.
That's true.
That's where all of that comes from. So for that census piece, that's what that's for. It's to count the animals.
Yes.
That's right.
Let me say it again. It's to count the animals. Okay.
And I got to tell you, you got some Moors. I just seen a post somewhere where the Moors had stated, you know what I'm saying, oh, the census ain't nothing, so they can acknowledge your Moorish nationality. I'm like, okay.
No.
Deception.
When they keep their crayon stuff down on there, they're not looking for that. Like you just said, sister, what she said. You feel me? They trying to make sure that they still count their product. That's an inventory. That's all that is an inventory sheet.
That's it. That's it. And we're not about that. Again, and even with Brother Curtis, Noble Curtis,
Islam.
Some may not agree with me on this, and that's okay. We don't all have to think the same. You can pull your children out today and start homeschooling them.
Oh, Islam.
Those
Islam.
Moors,
those
Moors who have jobs can homeschool at night and leave their children and I don't mean leave their children, but stay at home with their children during the day, or have another Moor stay at home with their children during the day.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's very easy.
They don't have where there is a will, there is a way, and no one has more will than the heirs.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Islam.
Islam. We could also.
Oh, go ahead.
Islam.
Go ahead, Empress Melo. I'm sorry. I yield.
Oh no, I was just saying it could also lean those schools too in the interim. Okay. That's just
what that's what I was saying. What are the court actions? That's what I was saying. What are the get back to that point. What are the things? Because everybody, some people may immediately, but there are going to be stragglers. So in the meantime, you still want to have those court actions to remove them.
Yeah, Islam ongoing administrative practices. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Because some feel like they can send their children there and with explicit instructions not to vaccinate and not to do this and not to do that. They're incompetent. They'll act like they don't even see that. So, and especially at this time that we're at right now, we are being called as a nation to stand. Full out, we're being called to stand, and if we decide we don't want to stand and govern this estate, they're going to do just what you talked about, keeping them overnight, whether you like it or not, and vaccinating them and molesting and all of the other stuff that come with overnight stays with animals. Okay, and I don't have anything against them. We love them because we created them. But we created them so that they can assist us in standing when we woke up. That's the only reason they're here, really. So, again, we're talking about we're fighting issues we don't have to fight if we stand.
Islam.
We don't have to worry about vaccines if we have our own schools.
Islam.
So either we can spend all of our energy fighting them like that, and trying to insist and trying to do that, or we can go ahead and stand like we're being called to do now. That's why things are getting hotter over there on that side. They're getting hotter over there because we need to stand up. And the whole earth is saying, okay, heirs, come on now.
Yep.
I use.
Yep.
I use.
Yep.
Islam, I just want to call that there's a question from Empress Chitali, and we need to hear your voice. You need to ask that question. Empress Chitali.
Islam. Yeah. Me and my daughter were talking, and so she just raised that question, and I thought it was a valid one because it's our right to bear arms. So why does Numerology say for us not to even carry a pocket knife? So
the point of the matter is the pen is mightier than the sword. We don't, because I self-law and master. You don't have to violate anybody else. You don't have to use those methods, methodologies that the hybrid has decided that that's the only way, the only solution. Because the higher self breeds is the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of right that brings justice, mercy, love, and right. What about love? Why would we even consider anything other than love? Well, because the highest principle is love. If you ain't talking about love, ain't living love, breathing love, talking love, sleeping love, dreaming love, walking love, and dancing love, if you ain't doing that, then what are you doing? This is what this is about. This is about we must teach our children to learn to love instead of hate. We've been taught hate so much for so long. No, this is the era of learning to love instead of hate. Learn to love yourself. Learn to love yourself. All the other stuff vanishes to the background anyway. It fades to the background anyway. It's just part of our imagination. We're dreaming. We're in a dream state. This is a twilight zone. We're dreaming all this stuff. This is not real. It has nothing to do with real. We got to get to the ultimate reality. But the guns and all that stuff, nah. But see, again, we have choice. If you choose to utilize that methodology by which the hybrids and the lower self-energy has manifested, then by all means, utilize it. But I choose Islam. I choose I, self-law, and master. I am mastering self. And besides, death is no enemy to man or mind. Death is no enemy. Because it says, the first 7 words, what's the first 7 words? Oh, God, come on. Chapter 1. Time never was when man was not. Time never was when the mind was not. So, you choose. You have free choice. If that's what you want to do, have a shootout, then by all means do that. But I'm choosing that, that's not real anyway. It's not real. We're living in a twilight zone.
Islam. May I address that as well? May I camel back off of what she was saying?
Can I answer that before you camel back off of that?
Yes, go ahead.
Another reason why
Empress Light is she's very, very patient. She's very, very polite. And a lot of times everybody interrupts. And I've been listening when she keeps saying Islam. And then other people go in and they start talking. So I want everyone to yield to Empress Light.
Okay.
Is everyone okay with that? Thank you, Empress. I just want to go to the law. I just want to go to the law on her question.
And I just want to
let us. Go ahead.
The reason why we're talking about that is because if we have our sheriffs who do the enforcement, are they not going to carry arms? So that's why we were talking about
Islam. We definitely will.
That's a great question. That's a great question, and I would love to speak to that for just a moment. Let us define arm. Let's do that first.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So yes. I happen to have a dictionary here. Let me read it. An arm. Anything commonly in contact with the arm. It is also defined as any weapon. Let me say that again. Any weapon.
Any
now,
weapon.
The Albions, of course, they got you thinking guns and pistols and knives and all of that stuff. But you know our pen is the biggest weapon out there. That's what's got them on their knees now.
Yes.
And that's
our minds are the weapon that's connected to our arm.
And that's what's got us in these contracts right now, that pen.
Yes.
Yes,
that is how we got into this, is with the pen, signing things, and that's how we're getting out of it.
That's it. The way in is the way out.
So arm is any weapon, and trust and know that dictionaries and pens and affidavits and the words of our mouth are weapons that just cannot be beat.
Yeah,
they cannot be beat.
On that.
And that is why the prophet, he knew that. The prophet knew that. That's why he said, you don't even need to carry a pocket knife, because he wasn't even talking about that weapon. And when they talk about the right to bear arms, if you're bearing an affidavit, I guarantee you guns will stand back. They will stand down. I know that firsthand.
Islam.
They can't lift a weapon because they got to have some paper to do that first.
That's right.
Why they had to come up with war rants and all of that stuff. They have to have that before they can pick up a gun.
Islam.
And guess what? That paper and that pen is what's going to make them put that stuff down.
Yes.
And get right back in their place.
That's right.
Islam.
I yield.
This is Azana. That's a good point, and I totally agree with that. However, we have another problem that we're going to have to address as well as Moors, and that is our own who are carrying weapons against their own, okay? Because in our neighborhoods, we have our own people killing our own people, and we got to address that problem as well. I digress.
Islam. That's actually important, Empress, because we're addressing it right now by getting our minds right. And when we get our minds right and show them the way, they'll know they don't have to do that. They will know they don't have to do it. That's why we're sitting here now. Because many of us have been in situations with others that had weapons, and they could have done something. But that's not what Allah had planned for us. And Allah is the best of all planners. This is not by accident. And the ones that are carrying those weapons right now, all we have to do is continue nation building, and they will know that they cannot get away with that. They will know it. Because even before those...
Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
What happened?
Did we lose her?
You got
muted.
She actually dropped herself. She'll be back. She'll be back.
Islam. She's going on.
She is flowing.
Islam. That's a zeal. That's part of our faculty of our mind. That zeal, We're bringing about order, understanding, understanding order and the zeal with this thing. And the will of Allah, because we are Allah. We are part of Allah, we are a part of Allah. So, because when I look at the face of, my fellow man, I'm looking at the face and the form of Allah, So, hey, it's all good, So, yeah. The pocket knife, any instrument of war is confusion. As you know, war is confusion. War is confusion. Why are we confused now? We should not be confused. We should not be confused by the understanding, our creed. We should not be confused. There's no more necessity for being confused and having war. We don't need the war on drugs. We don't need the war on poverty. We don't need the hot war. We don't need the cold war. We don't need World War I, World War II. We're not confused. Let's get out of that state of being confused, So Islam.
That's why
Islam.
going back
to you back.
It's because of Article 6 that talks about the treaties, and the Articles of Confederation is our stuff. That Constitution is for them. We have to enforce that because that's the contract for them to do business on our land. So all about that bearing arms, we got to go back and start reading those treaties and see what it says about having those adverse situations. And I don't feel that we were out there slaughtering each other either. It was one of those, and it's still being done today. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. If you accuse somebody like Sister Delilah spoke earlier about common law, or i.e. common law. Common law. See, that's why you don't accuse nobody, because back in the day, if you accuse falsely, you could lose your life on that accusation, or if you're on that claim. You know, so yeah. But this Constitution is not for the Moors, first of all, okay? Those articles are not for us. Only Article 6 is what we refer to because of it speaks to the treaty that birthed such a Constitution even coming into place for those visitors on our lands seeking to do trade and commerce.
Islam.
Our sons wrote it, their sons signed it.
Right. Islam. Because see, like you're saying, it was written for them, because when we think, you know, there's a bunch of confusion about the three-fifths of a man shit. Excuse me. I'm sorry. The three-fifths of a man stuff, you know, it's not talking about us. It's talking about three-fifths of a man of their slaves, their servants, or their indentured servants. It's because it was a tax to be applied to them. For example, if you're a whole man, so you got charged $10. And so if you had a servant, that was 3/5. 3/5 of 10 is 6. If you had a indentured servant, then that's 3/5 of 10. So that's another 6. And if you had a slave, that's 3/5 of your 10, which is 6. All right. So altogether, he had to pay $28 to the Moors for being on the land. It's about them. It's about them. Yeah. It's $10 for this. Yes, $10 for them, $10 for their servant, $10 for their slave, $10 for their indentured servant. So if they had all three of them, then they owe $28. $28. That's about them. Their tax for themselves, for them, not for us. But don't swallow that hook, line, and that we're 3/5 of a man. No. It's about them and their slaves and their indentured servants and their servants. It's about them, not us, because it says Indians not taxed. Indians not taxed? What does that mean? That means Moors. If Moors are there serving you, you don't have to be paid their tax, because the land belongs to them. It belongs to them, so you don't get taxed for that, but everything else that you bring here, you get taxed for. So no, Indians not taxed. That's us. They couched it in Indians. They couched it that we were Indians because they didn't know that India wasn't here. You know, that's what God said. We ain't Indians, and this ain't India. You calling us Indians or Indians? No. No, it's about Moors. Moors knocks tax. You're not going to be taxed for Moors on the land, on who are serving you. So I yield.
Islam.
I'm sorry.
Tax on property.
Yes, I apologize for that. I apologize for the slip of the word. I apologize. I really do, because I'm trying to amend my way. I'm trying to amend my way with regard to this, not fornicating under the consent of the king. I'm trying to amend my way.
Going for today.
Well, that Mars is in Aries, and so
Oh, yes, there's a lot of zeal here.
Things that we're fiery about.
Islam.
Yes, Islam. We do have to bring this awesome meeting to a stop, a pause point. So go ahead with your comment as well. I just wanted to bring that up.
I just have a question pertaining to weapons. When did it come a time when God had to use a weapon, a gun, a knife, or any object like that? So when you think about using a weapon, think about who you are. You are God. So what you need a weapon for, all you need is your thoughts.
Islam. That's indeed. Islam.
Islam.
If we handle that spiritual weapon, we don't even have to worry about natural weapons.
Right.
No weapon shall prosper. No weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Islam.
Islam. So at this, it's been a beautiful, beautiful day, a beautiful class. I love all my Moors and stuff like that. With zeal and passion and understanding and imagination. I love all my Moors. And you want to close out the meeting, Sister Light? Is that what you want to do? Because it's 08 over here.
At your will, Empress. At your will. At your will.
All right.
However you
all right.
do it.
All right, so, I don't like to belabor the point because, I have other Moors in this territory and they be listening and, 2 hours is a great portion of time, if you don't have it to give it at that moment, because at the moment when we have it, then it's all good. But, to go 2 hours later on, and try to figure this stuff out is something else, But with that being said, and how I usually close, how I usually close. So I'm going to close with our usual. I love you, Moors. I love you. I love you even more. I love you, Moors. I love peace. I love you, Moors.
To the God.
Islam.
Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Grand rising. Yes. Love you, Moors.
Love you.
Yes, love you all. All right. So Islam. Sister.
I was going to define weapon,
Islam,
because weapon is not even what they told us that meant either. But
right. So save it for next week. Write it down. Save it for next week. All right.
I will.
Right.
Islam.
All
Grand
right.
rising, Moors.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Yes.
Y'all hear me?
Yes.